So welcome in everybody. It is Tango Tuesday for February the 8th, 2022. We're at the top of the hour here at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We do this once a week on Tango Tuesdays, every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. And it's just my chance to try to share some information with you guys. And sometimes we have special guest speakers, and sometimes it's just philosophy, sometimes it's training. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's entertaining, sometimes it's a class. You never know what it's going to be. I like to try to keep it out there and keep it going. This is Tango Delta 6. My name is Dave. I'm connected to you guys from my home office here in sunny, or not so sunny today. It's a little bit rainy today here in Tampa, Florida, but excited to be here nonetheless. And this is being recorded for those of you that maybe listening to the recording. Thanks for taking the time to stop in and check back up and listen to the recording. We really appreciate that. Tonight, I just kind of had left my content selection open. I like to just let something move me, especially when there's lots of things to talk about, new launches, changes, things like that happening in the world. Crypto moves fast, and one of my good friends is here tonight. One of the things we always talk to each other about is like crypto has like dog years, right? Like they say dog years, the dog's heart beats so fast that it lives 7 years for every one human year because their heart rates are so quick. And if you got a puppy, you can put your hand in between their front two legs and kind of feel their heart through their chest, and it's just like, it's like really fast. So in crypto, it's the same way. Everything moves so fast that like we call them crypto years. It's like crypto is just extremely fast. So I like to reserve this space on Tuesdays. When it's slow, I do philosophy and fun stuff like that. I don't want to bore you into thinking this is like a book club or anything like that, but I was actually on the phone today with my friend EJ Bolf from over at EverReflect. And we were talking, we have this joke. I tell him if he's ever having a bad day, just give me a call and I'll throw some Tony Robbins on him. And we got to talking about Tony Robbins, and we were talking about, he was asking me what I was going to talk about on Tango Tuesday tonight. And I said, sometimes I just, when I'm not even knowing what I'm going to talk about, I'll just come over here in my library. I've got about maybe 500 or 600 books on my bookshelf in my library, and I've read all of them, some of them twice. And I just pick one. So I pointed to one and I pulled it out, and it was Tony Robbins, because our joke is that we'll just Tony Robbins each other whenever we're having a bad day. But Tony Robbins wrote a book called Money, Master the Game, 7 Simple Steps to Financial Freedom. And I don't know how long I've had this, but it's a hardback book, and I know I've had it a couple of years at least. I think I picked it up back in 14 or 15. I'm not sure when it came out, but I've read it a couple of times. I really like it. And honestly, going back through it after talking to EJ about it today, and I said, I think I'll just pull out this Tony Robbins book. And I said the name of it, and he was like, oh, I've read that book. I'll talk to you about that book. And I'm like, well, why don't you come on my show and we'll talk about it? So our surprise guest that's come in to join us tonight is EJ Bolf, the CEO of EverReflect. How you doing, my brother?
Good, man. Appreciate the intro. I mean, you just turned me into like, I was like, man, that sounded like an awesome conversation you guys had. I was like, oh wait, that was with me. So, it's true though. I mean, I think that our friendship has been based on more than just the concept of blockchain and crypto, and we were drawn to each other right away because the aspect of mindset and growing your personal development and that growth is the most critical part, I think, of any human being's life. And being able to get your mindset in the right place, it takes personal development, and you guys bring that into the space. And I love being around people that are around that read that kind of stuff anyways, because I really do think it's valuable.
Awesome. Well, I mean, before we go into some of the content and maybe talking about these investment strategies and stuff that we learned in this book, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world? Because I know you got some new things that are happening. You've had since the last time we talked together publicly, I know you've had a couple of AMAs and you've built some partnerships and stuff. So why don't you give us the quick summary of what's happening with EverReflect?
Yeah, so quick kind of the quick rundown. So we started our tax reduction, so we're down to 18%. Our final tax reduction will be this Thursday, so it'll be 15% USD reward, 17% tax total. Still burning 5 trillion tokens every Thursday, and one of the cool concepts that Stu, one of our chief dev guys, put together a prototype of the NFT tickets that we'll be putting out, what the design will look like. We're going through that process now of minting the tickets, but also having to be able to do it in mass production, which if anybody's in the NFT game, they kind of understand that there's a lot of variables that go into, say minting 10,000 of them. So we did release the prototypes about a week and a half ago. And then from our perspective, I've said this from the beginning that the core team was going to be an extension that led into the community, and then the community was going to be an extension that led into other projects. And we're fortunate that we have a lot of good partners. And one of those announcements was Greenlight Energy. They're obviously in a blockchain space where they're going to go into green energy, starting to do some stuff with a wallet that'll be able to pay for clean energy through that wallet. EverReflect will be one of the tokens available through theirs. And then the second partnership, which we announced yesterday, was with Meta BUSD. And I think a lot of people here in this group probably know Chris pretty well, but Chris has just become one of those guys that his knowledge blows me away. So the concept of just even working with him was a no-brainer, because a lot of people just try to even get his attention. But what they can do in the virtual reality space makes a lot of sense for what we want to. Not only do we want to promote the concept of NFT tickets for live events, live concerts, live sporting events, but the idea of a virtual reality experience for something that's actually taking place, as opposed to going into just the VR space of you're an avatar and that you're in a digital realm. The concept of having 360 cameras in live venues has become a reality. So using our NFT tickets, you'll be able to get access into different venues, different concerts, different sporting events, and then just one-off other just cool events. So even if we were talking about setting up one of the cameras, say at like the rocket launches for Elon's, the rockets they're sending into space now and stuff that's going to the moon and stuff that'll be going to Mars, we'll be able to actually set up cameras live at those locations. You can go into a VR Oculus experience, buy an NFT ticket through our platforms, and then virtually be there live to watch the whole experience. So those two partnerships are just the start of what we want to do, because we've said for a long time that the utilities that we're rolling out aren't necessarily going to be the flashiest that everybody's going to be like, oh man, that's something I absolutely need. But we think that there's real world impact for our utilities, and then couple that with, we're trying to unite DeFi. I mean, that's not just a made up term that a lot of us devs and a lot of us team members say without meaning it, because there's so many different great projects and great people in the space, but unfortunately we're all super small. Like, that's just the reality still. So
yeah,
small liquidity pools, huge swings to the different charts because a few people get in or a few people get out. Like, it's reality when you have only a million, maybe 2 million, 3 million of actual BNB liquidity. I mean, we don't see too many projects that get much over that. And if you have 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 holders, the idea of alliances makes so much more sense. So we're strategically going to be making those partners and announcing them every week, because it's vital. It's vital to grow the space, and it's vital to be able to grow these projects in a way that we can all overlap, utilizing each other's tokens and utilize each other's utilities.
I think that's awesome. And it's part of what's missing. And honestly, it was what you already know, EJ, is what compelled me to kind of come up with this idea, and what started off as a small group became a rather large, influential group now of people that just want to clean up crypto, only invest in the good projects run by the good people. And you're taking it to the next level. You're saying not only let's have a bunch of good projects, but let's all work together to, promote it down the street, get everybody else involved too. I think that's really cool.
I was making this joke earlier today, and it's not even a joke with Dirty Mike, who's like become one of our just greatest allies and one of my good friends, that new projects act like we're East Coast, West Coast rap, gangs that are teaming up against each other. And so somebody's like, oh, I'm Tupac. And then the next guy's like, well, I'm Biggie. What people fail to realize is that none of us are Tupac. None of us are Biggie. None of us are even the opener for the opener for the opener. We're so damn small. Like, we're not U2. We're not the Rolling Stones. Like, we're literally, if we're on a festival ticket, we're the 8 a.m. Thursday morning opening act. We can't act like we're so massive and we can't have so much ego because we still have so much room to grow. And that takes strategic alliances, but also learning from other people in the space. And that's going to always be our goal, week in, day after day, month after month, because it's needed. I mean, there's no question it's needed.
Absolutely. And you've got obviously stuff that you've got coming up. You got some stuff coming out soon as far as like utility and use case stuff. How's all that looking?
Yeah, so we're still working on our chart. We're still working on the NFT tickets. The concept of staking is in the development process. We don't have an exact date. Basically, the concept of our staking is we're going to utilize another platform, and that will be announced here sooner. That'll probably be the first one that's actually announced in the next. I won't give a deadline on it, but we basically wanted to wait until volume was going to be slower and market cap came down, implement the staking, kind of taking a page out of MetaBUSD's book because we just saw them do the same thing. We're like, oh, that was a smart move, strategic, well timed. So we're going to follow suit and do something very similar.
Awesome. Well, we always make the Tony Robbins joke, so maybe you can expand just a little bit on the concept of, I guess, why we kind of like each other, because in our initial conversation we were talking about, I was vetting your project. I was talking to you just to see who you were, and we got to know each other, and we started talking about personal development. And I think the call probably went on for, we talked crypto for 20 minutes and then ended up on the phone for like 2 hours or something. So we started talking about personal development and books that we had read, and we kind of started off our friendship based on the kernel of personal development and sharpening yourself by reading. So talk a little bit about maybe how has personal development put you in a position where you can be the leader of a project or stand out, be somebody who's not just watching what's happening in crypto, but like you've rolled your sleeves up and you're out there building something, trying to make a project that'll change the space, not just, you're not on the sidelines cheering for the players. You're in the game. So how did personal development get you to where you are?
Well, I will say this, that the concept of personal development for me has been something that has been installed since I was young. And I think Adam's actually in this chat as well, and he could attest to that as well. That we had really great role models growing up with both my dad and my mom. We always joked that we weren't the kids that got to go to Disneyland because when we went on a 2-week vacation, Mom and Dad would drag us to Mexico to build a church, or we'd have to go to Russia and like work in an orphanage. And like our concept of family vacations, we're always going out and doing stuff for other people. So thankfully, I was able to learn at a young age that those experiences benefited us more than it benefited the person you were doing it for. So really early on, the idea of helping other people and being able to give back was really ingrained hardcore. Well, that did all that kind of stuff, middle school, high school, you know, got into college, and then it kind of went out the window. Because I was like, oh, like I'm free. I'm at Michigan State. I can do all these things, and ended up actually having a very successful career in the music industry. Started my own company. Moved from Lansing to Chicago. Owned a company called Midtown Entertainment. Partnered with a company called Jam Productions and worked in their office. And things were good. And money was fine. It wasn't really like a concept of ever being without. But I would definitely say that there was a period where I went through a massive amount of contacts with people and got to be known pretty well in the Chicago area. We do a bunch of large-scale charity events, things that would just be massively big as far as like bar nights and all that kind of stuff. And there came a point where I started to realize that I'm like, a lot of these people aren't really my friends, for one. And two, I'm not getting the joy out of it like I've gotten out of certain things. So that kind of put me down the path of, so what's going on? Like, why is it that I have this? I was living in the Aqua Tower, which is right down next to Navy Pier. Rent's like $4,500 a month.
Ooh.
And patio, gym, basketball court, 3 different pools, NFL players lived next to me. There was always something to do, always people, go out for a couple of drinks and have us $400 and you're like, I'll try to spend less at the next place. The concept of reality to me became like, is this really all that there is? And then it kind of goes back to the core of like how we were raised. And that's when I started doing some real soul searching on reading a lot of John Maxwell, actually. So even though I know that we're on the Tony Robbins topic, but 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Oh, yeah.
I think I went through that thing 30 times.
Absolutely.
And I got it on the audio tape. And his concept of law of the inner circle stuck with me a ton. And it did from there on out, that you find good people, you surround yourself with them, those people you partner with, and you want to be influenced by those people because your actions will be a direct correlation to their thinking because your thinking becomes their thinking. Like, straight up, that's how life works.
Yep.
Like, if you think that it doesn't, that whole concept of like find your 5 closest friends, average all their incomes, and that's your income.
Yep.
Like, those are all real. Granted, you can, he makes 15,000 more, he makes 50,000 more, whatever. But it's all very, very, it's very correlated. Then it became how do I improve this more and more? And then, I went into like a massive amount of reading and a massive amount of journaling through these books that that I just made it a refined focus of like staying off social media, getting away from kind of and COVID was really good for me actually from that perspective too, because it put you at home a little bit more. But every time I would read a book, especially it could be on anything from quantum physics to Rob Bell, who's a pastor, who's one of my favorite authors, to something like Kiyosaki or some of the things that are based solely on business and like Think and Grow Rich and millionaire mindset and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't always just about wealth and the concept of money. It became true wealth is your own happiness generated by your own thoughts. And that really like stuck with me of like, wait a second, you can't always like believe everything that pops up in your head, but you can always address it in the concept of I can address what I want to think. Or, in the case of myself, I stole, in essence, some language from a couple different books, and from those books, I basically put together a list of things that I will read every morning. So the concept of a fixed system of conditioning my mind every day, And then I took 8 of my favorite things from those books and just forced myself to do it every morning and every night. And so those quality thoughts help generate you thinking those same thoughts throughout the day. And that's really where the catalyst or the pivotal moment, I would say, came for me, which is probably back in like 2015, 14, 16, somewhere in that range. Like, you got to write this stuff down, and then you got to repeat it. Like, I don't care if you read Tony Robbins one time and you liked the quote and you thought it was good. If you didn't record it and then you didn't go back and repeat it, you're not going to remember it the same way if you wrote it down and then you read it 21 days straight.
Mm-hmm.
So that stuff becomes critical because you have to constantly recondition your mind, because you have these neural pathways that have basically been formed over years of conditioned training about your past, that you have to focus on your past, and that's not what you need to do. Like, you need to take basically a stance and say, all right, I'm going to read these quotes every day. Or in my case, the very first one on my list is, we are what we repeatedly do. That's rule number one.
Yep.
On what I do on my fixed system conditioning my mind. So what are you doing every day? Because if you're doing that every day, that's who you are. That's a direct correlation to your actions, your thinking, how you behave, how you treat other people, and the relationships that you will interact with, how your conversations will go, and damn near how everything else in your life will transpire from that, because that's how your business is going to interact, that's how you're going to treat your neighbors, that's how you're going to treat your dog, that's how you're going to be able to do everything in life. All boils back down to your mindset.
Yep.
And you have some abilities to control.
Now you guys know why I like him so much. He's just spitting facts on us here. No, I'm with you. I think you can, if you go back and listen to some of the recordings of my Tango Tuesdays, I did one show just on like journaling and how important it is for you to have a daily method of operation, right? I am somewhat mechanical, but also somewhat philosophical in my approach to journaling, where the left side of my paper is for the numbers, and the right side of my paper is for my thoughts and my things that I have to do for the day. And then what I end up doing is just murdering the journal pages, because throughout the day, I'll end up scribbling little things that I think, or I'll hear something motivational and it'll remind me, and I'll write it down, like you say, because I like to go back and revisit it. And then I have all these journals that are just like, I've been doing this for years. I tried the best I could to keep buying the same journals so that they would look identical, because my OCD and seeing the different spines on my bookshelf kind of messes with my head a little bit. But, I always like to just, like when I was talking to you earlier and we pulled this book down off the shelf because we both mentioned it within a second of each other. Next to it was a lot of my journals, and I'm just like, I'll pull them down and just flip to a random page in 2015 and see what my mind was doing that day. And I go back and it just takes me back right to that spot, and it helps me to relearn it because it's indelibly or immutably recorded in my mind, but that doesn't mean I can access it all the time. And the journal is kind of the way to get back to that place where you were when you read it the first time, and it helps you to recall. And oddly, I spent about an hour and a half in this book flipping through to find something to talk about tonight, and then it jumped out at me. It was oddly, though, when I first opened it, how you just put your finger somewhere on the spine and then just like open the book, and whatever page it's on, you start there. And I opened it up, and it was the bio for Ray Dalio. And that's what I ended up wanting to talk about tonight. And I know I texted it to you, but for those of you that don't know, like, who Ray Dalio is, he's probably the single most successful hedge fund manager in the history of the planet. Like, right? He has, since 1974, he has managed a hedge fund that on average earns about 10% annually for the last 41 years. That's 40 years through 2013. So he has $160 billion under management, where like the most of the big boy hedge funds have 15 billion. right? He has 160 billion. It's the 1% of the 1% of the 1% he manages their money. And
his net worth is what, like 47 billion?
it's insanity. You can't even, he doesn't even take on clients anymore. If you wanted to be his client, you have to have like a $5 billion net worth. Like, I mean, there are billionaires that don't make the cut to have him manage their money. But he met with Tony Robbins for the interview for this book, and he just threw some verses at him, like, you know, how to do this, how to do that. So he talks about a couple of things in the book, but I think what he was, one of the things I have highlighted here is one of his main concepts is called think like an insider. And there's a lot of philosophy in this. I know I've read this book before, but I think honestly I may have recalled some of it without knowing it, because the concept for Tango Crypto is really think like an insider, right? We vet these projects and we look at them from the outside looking in, but what makes a difference in how we vet the projects is that we become insiders. We meet the people, we interrogate them, so to speak. I know you were so scared to get on the phone with Coach. You're like, well, your call wasn't so bad, Dave. What I'm scared of is meeting with Coach.
And then you come to find out that a person like Coach ends up becoming one of your dearest friends.
Sure.
Because he's just such a genuine human that I can't even imagine not. You know, it's weird that I've only known you guys for a few months, and it feels like I've known you my entire life.
I know, right? And then one of the things he says here is in thinking like an insider, and I'm just going to read from the book because it's easier for me to just read it and then we can talk about it. What you're about to read could very well be the most important chapter of the entire book. Yeah, I know I said that before and it's true, but if you don't know the rules of the game, you'll get crushed. And if you don't think like an insider, conventional wisdom will lead you to accept the fate of the herd. And if you don't decide on a percentage and automate your savings, you will never get your rocket off the ground. And I highlighted it again, like circled it with my pen to make sure I didn't miss that quote. But, you know, when you talk about automating the process, the way you automate a process, like what you said earlier, is you have to do it every single day. And you have to do it the same way over and over and over and over and over and over again for like, I believe it's like 28 days is the minimum that you have to do it every single day the same exact way for it to form a habit, right? Psychologically. So, you know, that's one of the things that really stood out to me on that side of it. The other thing he says is that he would always say, welcome to the jungle, right? To get what he says, he's created a group that he calls the Navy SEALs of investing. And he says to get what we really want in life, we have to go through the jungle to get to the other side. The jungle is dangerous because of the unknowns in the jungle. It's the challenges lurking around the next bend that can hurt you. So in order to get where you want to go, you have to surround yourself with the smartest minds and the people that you also respect. And so he basically has done that, and that's how he created this $160 billion hedge fund, is by just surrounding himself with sharp minds. And I realize that's what we're doing here, right? I mean, we're looking for the good guys, we're looking for the good projects, but we're looking for the smartest minds. We're looking for the people that are really trying to help people in the space to gain by providing that. So
I think it's cool too because I can't remember if it was in that book or it was another one of Tony Robbins' books, but Tony talks about the concept that repetition is the mother of all learning.
Yep.
And so that's one of my favorite quotes, and I can't remember what book he wrote that in. But then my other part that I loved about the race story, I don't know if it's in the beginning of that chapter, but it talks about how when he was little, that he started, I think it was a newspaper route or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he would save like $5 a day. Once he got up to $50, he would like actually go buy stocks when he was young, and he already learned that idea of investing, but he treated it as a game and that it was fun. And I think that's something that we can all experience a lot, and especially in the volatility of what is crypto, to make it fun. But then you think about a guy like Ray, who's now a multi-billionaire, and he started when he was like 10 doing this. So like that's a little bit of an advantage, yes. But you think about all the steps that he ended up learning, and how many $50 stocks did he buy that went bust?
Right.
And that it was just terrible, or that it was just a learning curve, and then he ended up picking up a little lesson here or a lesson there. And, you know, even though we're in a space where it's not securities, it's utility tokens, and we're trading them, but there is a lot of volatility with the charts. You know, there's so much to be able to be learned and gained from every single utility token that you trade. But think about the idea of what we're doing. I almost compare that to where Ray was at 10 years old, of like, you know, he was taking $50 and buying stocks when he was 10 years old. Well, that's almost like what we're doing in some space, because it's so new that it's like we are like the 10-year-old Rays.
Yep.
This is so new. And we're going to learn because we're going to keep doing it. And the more you surround yourself, like you said, with people that are also the same kind of focus and the same kind of mindset, like you're going to gain knowledge. And we'll be ahead of the curve, kind of like Ray was when he was a little kid.
When you said that, it kind of, I envisioned like that scene from The Matrix where they plug him up and then he goes, "Now I know Kung Fu," right? Like they just like it, because everything comes at us so quickly in crypto that it really is like that. Like you want to, everybody just wants to get plugged in and know what's happening right away. But I think, you know, one of the things you and I always talk about is how you have to slow down to speed up, right? Because everything's moving so quickly and all the knowledge is coming so quickly and there's hundreds of tokens launching every day, and it's easy to just get overwhelmed and throw your hands up, and just you lose your focus, right? Because you're just trying to take on too much information too fast. There is no matrix that you can just plug into and learn. It's a process and you have to go through it. And that's why personal development is important, because even if the book you're reading is not teaching you how to get good at crypto, right? I mean, I think we've kind of transitioned generationally into, if I need to know how to do something, I can just ask Google or I can go on YouTube, right? My wife was joking about it earlier. We couldn't figure out how to get the top of the Pantene pump to open. And I'm like, babe, you spin it. Like, that's all. And then I went over to spin it and I couldn't spin it. And then she came. I mean, there was some type of leverage you had to put on the cap, and then she went on. She found a YouTube video that showed her how to do it, and she's like, "Oh, you can learn anything on Google, right?" So, I think we still have to slow down to speed up. Like, don't rent the book. Buy the book. Go get the book. Put it in your hand. You know, take it home. Sit in a chair. Grab a pen. Grab a highlighter. Grab a cup of coffee, and start flipping through the pages. If you read 15 to 20 pages of a personal development or self-betterment book every day, or just something that you want to learn, if it's about crypto, if it's about miners, if it's about staking, just get better. You know, Coach does his classes here and that's good. But there's just something to me about the tactile pathway of just flipping through the pages and reading the pages. I forgot how much I enjoyed it. I'm glad you told me to pick this book up and start reading it again. It helps me out.
It's true though, and your brain processes things in a different way when you're actually reading it, and then it processes it in another way when you're reading it and then writing it down, that you cannot get visually, and you cannot get from just audio listening to it. So it literally goes back to neural pathways and the connection between your gut, your heart, and your brain. That if you're going to be able to use those, basically the firing of your brain cells to the maximum ability, like that's the best way to do it.
Absolutely.
It always has been and it always will. And the other thing I was going to say, you know, the idea, everything moves so fast here, and everything we ever try to do with EverReflect, and we will continue to keep doing, is to slow down the space to avoid the FOMO. Because I
Yeah.
never wanted any FOMO for anybody with any of the stuff that we do, basing that on that FOMO to me is fear, and I don't think that you should be able to make the best decisions. Or I know for a fact you don't make the best decisions when it's based on fear. And so if you think that the fear of missing out is is something that you want, or that a project or a team, or hey, this just launched and we have to hurry up and get in and get your B&B, and then you fire this off, and then oh, we didn't get away. No, slow it down. Like, if that's what that team's doing to you, think about it. Like, that is not the way anything else in life transpires. And then, if people don't get their way, we act as though we're worse off than a 10-year-old spoiled kid that didn't get the extra cookie, and so we just whine to our mom until we get another cookie. Like, guys, we're adults here. We need to take this in stride of becoming more educated so we can help other people, and then we can alleviate the anxieties and the emotions and the stresses that we feel from it, because it's like, all right, this was, and Coach said this the other day when he jumped on our channel, setting a strategic plan. Even with the concept of buying or selling and taking profits at certain times, have a plan. Like, it's not wrong to have a plan that you're going to take profits, or it's not wrong to wait to enter into a trade once it's at a certain price, but set it, write it down, make sure that you have a concept so that you can stick to those goals, because it goes back to repetition. Like, one aspect, I said this to, I can't remember if it was Liberty or it was one of the guys in our chat today, and I said, we might not be the team that's the smartest. We might not be the team that has the sexiest of utilities. We might not be this team that has like all these massive, big names that are a part of our CEO and our core team, right? But the two things that I can promise you is we will be more consistent day in and day out. I guarantee that we can be more consistent, because I know a lot of these other projects, other than maybe Green Life Energy and MetaBUSD. And that's why we partnered with them, because it's like, oh, those guys are going to challenge me to be even more consistent, because they're damn consistent and they're damn hard workers. And then the second part that I think a lot of people don't realize is that I'm a big person of faith. And I would put this to a challenge. I wish that there was a chart. We have more people around this globe praying for EverReflect than I guarantee any other project on Binance Smart Chain. And I would put that to the test, because it's important to my mindset, it's important to my faith, but it's also important, I think, to the project as a whole, to show, we're doing this with integrity for the right reasons. And it's based on a lot of these values and a lot of the stuff that I've learned through personal development and going through books, that it doesn't have to be Tony Robbins. It could be Lone Survivor. It could be the millionaire mindset. There's so many different valuable resources out there that you can pull, little tidbits here and there of personal development, that you can find that truth in a lot of different spaces. You can find it in even a textbook. It's just, how do you translate it and correlate that into something that's going to be good for your mindset, really.
Yeah. And you have to be willing to change yourself, because if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting what you've always gotten. So the only way to change the outcome in your life is to change the way that you're doing the things that you do. And the best way to do that is to take on a mentor, or take on somebody to guide you. And that's really essentially what every single thing that you see, all the successful people in the world, if you ask them how they got successful, they always say the same. Oh, yeah, hard work pays off, right? Get up early, stay up late, grind. And those things are true. They are true. But the reality is, every single person that I know that is like mega successful, they all had a mentor, and then they all became mentors to others, because you have to learn to take in somebody else's viewpoint other than your own. If you don't, then you just always see the world through your own eyes. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're right to see the way you see the world, because the environment that shaped you and molded you as you grew up has turned you into who you are today. But everybody thinks because we graduate high school at 18 or we graduate college at 21 that we're supposed to stop learning at that point. And that's the worst thing you could ever do is stop learning. He even talks about in the book, he says, the one thing that will doom you is if you rely on conventional wisdom. He thinks way outside the box. In fact, heck, he shatters the box, right? His voracious appetite to continually learn and challenge the conventional and find the truth is what propelled Ray from his first office, which was just a little apartment, to a sprawling campus in Connecticut. And then he talks about, culture. He says the culture requires you to be creative, insightful, and courageous if you work for him. You always have to be able to defend your position or your view. And Ray also requires that you have the willingness to question or even attack anything that you consider faulty. The mission is to find out what is true and then figure out the best way to deal with it. This approach requires radical openness, radical truth, and radical transparency. And I think, that's what we do when we vet the tokens, when we look at the projects. And we're not vetting the token just so we can turn around and say, hey, EJ, go buy this, put your money here, right? We want we want everybody that's a student of this process to be having those challenging thoughts and changing and seeking guidance. And, the reason we're even talking about this, let's be honest, this is a crypto channel and we're talking about personal development. I'm surprised half the people haven't left already. It's right. Good. It means maybe we're touching a note here that people need to hear, but you do have to change your mind. You have to change your mind from the inside out. And you have to challenge the status, because if we don't challenge and if we don't remove our fear of poking the way it currently exists, if we don't poke it in the eye with a hot poker and make it change, crypto's going to stay the way it is. It's going to be fear of missing out, popularity contest, every man for himself, get in where you fit in, musical chairs with 1,000 people trying to fit into 41 seats when the music stops. If we don't change something, it's going to stay that way, right? So, that's what we're all looking for, is a way to make a smarter choice when it comes to picking where we put our money, with the hopes of it creating us a long-term passive residual income, which is what we set out to do. And I like that because, and I don't want to say I'm tooting my own horn, but I really felt like reading that made me feel better, because it kind of edifies what we're trying to do here. Is we're trying to challenge the way it works, but we want to use radical truth, radical openness, radical transparency to kind of pull the veil back from all these different tokens that are being launched that may or may not have people involved that may or may not just be interested in taking your hard-earned money because they know you're so eager to invest in something. Right. And I know that's when you and I talked, that was like, I think you were like, this is a breath of fresh air. Nobody's doing this, right? So I'm excited to have you here and talk about that too.
Right, because there is so much of that, like, oh, you got to get in at the beginning, and then that's the only time that you can end up supporting a project, really. And that right there is probably one of the biggest issues that we have. We create this hype and we create this FOMO, but it's also kind of like a double-edged sword, because then it can also end up hurting a lot of people. And then once people get hurt, it's so hard to go back and be like, okay, like, we're sorry. Even though you don't even try to do that. But it's like, everybody's living in the conditioned past. And unfortunately, the conditioned past for crypto was not a year ago. It was literally like last Thursday. Because my conditioned past was, well, I bought Tony Robbins token and then I didn't get in. But then the previous to that, I got, the Ray Dalio token, and I did really well on that one, and I made 10 DMV. And then the one right before that, was the coach token, and that one I only did a little bit, and then I held on, and then I probably held on longer than I should have. and then I sold, but then it spiked back up. And so it's like our conditioned past is the thing we have to be honest about, but we can't live in the conditioned past with these tokens because every launch is going to always be hectic. So if we eliminate launches, and we eliminate that being our conditioned past of it being always really good or always really bad, and remove the emotion of the launch and look at just long-term projects, then you can really be much more transparent with yourself about like, I like these people, or I like this idea. And it doesn't matter the idea. That's why I'm a big advocate of even sharing other tokens that have obviously good teams that have been vetted, but like, if it's to build the next best game of Frogger, and you're a passionate Frogger player, then cool. Then that's the one you should get excited about. You should go help somebody else get Trust Wallet. You should help somebody else show them how to get BNB into MetaMask, and then you should show them how to connect to Blues or to Pancake or to KuCoin and help them get that token. We're so small, all of us. I will say this a billion times. 4,000 holders, 10,000 holders, or let's even just go up to the granddaddy of them all currently in reflection tokens, EGC, only has less than 200,000 holders.
Right.
That's a small fraction. I've done festivals that have that many people on site for a day. In a 24-hour window that we ticket. That's small in comparison to the millions of people that are out there in this world. So if we're freaking out over 4,000 or 8,000 or 10,000 and then the epitome is 100,000, right? Like, let's change the whole perspective of what's big. Safe Moon is big. I'll give them that because they have millions. But like, how do you get to the point where you're not just a Safe Moon and you're trading on BSC, but you have millions of holders, and then people, or not even people, but organizations, say like Crypto.com or Coinbase or some of these other big, obviously massive leaders in the industry are like, okay, we're getting recognized by these tokens, and this token's starting to actually get up to the level of like they have 1 million holders. Like, that's the epitome. That's the goal. Because if it's not the goal, then we're all small, and we're all going to end up basically just drowning away because we've never actually gotten past basically the small level of thinking that we own this little pond. F the pond. Like, we don't even want the Great Lakes. We want the whole damn ocean.
You want all the water on the planet.
And you don't do that by saying that you have to buy EverReflect, or that you have to buy Meta, or that you have to buy Dreamlight. Don't care the token. What I care about is the education of showing people, okay, well, this is a high tax token, so if you're going to invest $100, you're only going to get $80 of value to start, but by holding it, you'll earn a reward, and then over the course of 6 months, maybe a year, you'll also earn back enough in BUSD. And it doesn't matter the token. Like, I don't want to go over too many that maybe aren't obviously approved or vetted through you guys, but it doesn't matter the token.
Right.
What matters is the education to show people how to get a Trust Wallet, how to get a MetaMask, how to make it more simplistic for them to get BNB. Because even that concept for us is so simplistic. Like, hey, I just bought 10 BNB, but I maxed it out, so now I no longer have BNB in my wallet, so I can't even transfer out my BUSD. Like, we wouldn't do that. You'd be like, oh, dude, you always have to leave 0.1 in there. I mean, it's second nature to all of us. For the rest of the world, that still seems so foreign. Like, wait a second, so you got to trade your pesos to US dollars, and then your US dollars over to yen before you can trade your yen for, this? Like, we need to show people. It doesn't matter the token. Yeah, do I want it to be EverReflect? Yeah, are we going to do some damn great things in the NFT space? Without a doubt. It's a sound choice if you're going to trade a utility token. But the biggest element that's missing are the masses of people that have Robinhood or have Coinbase and do stuff on Ethereum. And pardon my French, all of us are so consumed about bitching about a dang launch, or that there's been issues with liquidity pools, and we're watching the chart too much. And I'm not speaking on behalf of EVRF. I'm talking of the stuff that has gone on for weeks and months and will happen tomorrow, and it'll happen a week from now. This is not EverReflect related. this is all utility tokens. We need to be able to have a rational mindset, be able to educate and challenge and treat other people with respect to get them into the space to get wallets. That's the key. We open the floodgate of getting people with new wallets. That's how we win.
That's the goal, and that's our goal.
It is, right?
No, that's
It has to be.
yeah. Our goal, like our mission, our vision, what we're doing with Tango Crypto, our goal is to onboard everybody into crypto, and then give them a safe learning environment where they don't feel criticized because somebody who already knows how to do it thinks they're hot shot, and then like, oh, you don't know how to do that, right? Because that's how everybody is. Everybody wants to know something that you don't. Everybody wants to be somebody that they're not. Everybody wants to criticize somebody who doesn't know how to do it. I'm an old man. When I first learned how to do this stuff, a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, taught me how to do like trades on Binance Smart Chain. I had no clue what it was. When I first bought Nobility, I had to have somebody walk me through it. And thank God he's patient. And I believe he's actually here tonight. So he's probably laughing because I'm talking about him. But he actually took like 3 hours of his day, and he doesn't have 3 hours in a day, but he took 3 hours of his day to help me figure out how to do all these transactions. And then I was like, okay, I got it now. And the next thing I did was I went back and turned around and did the same thing. I found all my friends and I said, dude, I got this cool token. You buy it and it pays you like reflections that are like dividends that come every hour. It's unbelievable. And I just had that same call. I probably did 30 calls a day for 4 straight weeks, and that's all I was doing was just getting people that had never been in crypto before to download a wallet, onload some fiat, and onboard the fiat, and then buy some Nobility. That's what I was doing. And we had fun because in the Discord, I would put up the meme of the phone, like the dog talking on the phone or something like that, or a monkey talking on a phone. And everybody knew that meant there was about to be some green candles because I was on the phone with somebody closing out another deal where I was bringing them on board to buy the tokens. And it was fun. I had a blast doing it, but I didn't even realize like I was training myself to do this and have this idea. And that's really now Tango Crypto. The idea is we want to help the 3% that are already in crypto, but we want to go get the 90%, 97% that aren't. And we want to bring them into crypto and then show them the safe places where they can put that money so that they're not wasting their effort buying that one that turns out to be a rug pull or a scam. It looks really good on paper, but then, they start moving the chairs, or they start siphoning off the liquidity, or they start playing games in the background where, the uneducated person can't look at the chart and see what's happening. They don't know how to go onto BSC scan and track the wallets and see that there's, they're siphoning the money. Money's coming in through the front door and they're siphoning it out the back door. And it happens every single day, right? They say, and it's even in the book here, page 388, he says, there's one thing I know for sure. Complexity is the enemy of execution. You and I are actually going to get ourselves to follow through with the process in receiving rewards. And the way to do it is to make it simple. Because complexity is the enemy of execution. The reason the 97% of people that don't have crypto, I'm not saying the only reason, but I would say the overwhelming majority of people, they think it's too complex. And they get what's called analysis paralysis. If you give somebody too many options, then the confused mind does nothing. It shuts down. And that's why complexity is the enemy of execution. Yeah, sure. I want you. If I told you, hey, I want you to buy crypto, but I'm going to need you to take your money and go download this app and then connect it to your bank and then KYC. And oh, by the way, you got to take a picture of this and you got to upload that and you got to put this over here. And you got to move the money from this one place over to this other place and convert it into this and then drop it into that. And there's this thing called PooCoin and you got to connect to that and blah, blah, blah. If I tell them all that up front, they're like, yeah, no, thanks, appreciate it. But, if I say, hey, here's a safe space, come learn, ask questions, figure it out. And we've built this community where if you ask a question, you're not made to feel like a dum-dum because you asked the question. And then you ultimately move up and graduate through the process, and you end up in this room where you are today, you know, with 45 of our what we call savvy investors, right? The tier 2 folks that are, you know, they're investing in their future, they're investing in their education, they're investing into Tango crypto because they believe that what we're doing is good and righteous, and we're just trying to find good tokens. They obviously like our vetting process because it seems that when we find one we like, you know, if I say I like it, Coach says he likes it, Karuna says he likes it, you know, Mobile Trade says he likes it, then everybody says, okay, I like it too. I mean, we all just kind of agree that we're all on this mission to do it together. And honestly, I mean, I got to thank you too, EJ, because without you and me getting to be friends and doing this, I think there's a lot of eyes that would not have seen this project except they heard you talking about it on your Discord, or they, you know, you guys gave away, which you paid full price for, by the way. And I've been very open about telling people that you guys paid full price for 5 1-year tier 2 subscriptions and then gave them away to the people in your Telegram. And it's only the reason that you would do that was not to promote your token, but to help promote what we're doing over here and help us. I mean, you paid full retail, no discount.
We'll buy more. I mean, somebody brought it up on a video the other day about some of the grant programs that I'm going to start with Morales. And it's the same thing where you can get in and learn Solidity, and it's like a 6-month program with Morales, and we're going to give away a couple of those grants too, because it's still education. I'd like to spend our marketing dollars on places where people can implement learning. And then once you have people's attention of, okay, you're in a paid, you know, full price year membership, all those great things. All right, well, here's the challenge then. If it's simple for you now to be able to do things like get a MetaMask or to get a wallet, like, then here's the challenge of, like, go show somebody else this week. You have to go show one person how to do it. If you need the 0.1 BNB, shoot me a DM. I'll drop it in their wallet, because that's how we need to make sure people are learning. And we know, like you said, that 3-hour experience that you had with your buddy that first time you did it, it gets broken down into steps, but there's a number of steps that have to go in the correct order. Like, you can't, you know, you obviously can't go and trade on Pancake to get a utility token if you don't have the BNB yet.
Right.
If you don't have BNB, you know, you can't obviously add, you know, what's the point of putting in a Binance Peg token into your account? Like, there's so many different steps, but we know the strategy. So simplify it, you know, and I've done it a lot with, like, friends and family around here, where it's like, all right, just get Trust Wallet. Just make sure you hold those all words. Just get the Trust Wallet. Turn on these tokens. All right. Next thing. Here's how you add the custom token. Okay. All right. So this is how we're going to get BNB into your wallet. But maybe it's easier to go through crypto.com because it's going to be cheaper. You know, there's so many different steps that go into the process. So that's why the challenge I have for all the more educated people that are even in the paid memberships, go show somebody this week. Show somebody how to get it. Allow them, even if it's $10. Like, shoot, you do that and you shoot me a DM, I'll drop a couple billion EVRF into their wallet, because at least they have it now. And at least they've gotten over that road bump of being able to actually say, okay, I have a Trust Wallet now. And it's very, very intimidating if you have to go onto YouTube and try to train yourself. Or, like I always say to a lot of people, that anybody on our team, and I will say this is a testament to our team, that everybody checks their ego at the door. Like, nobody on our team has an ego, because none of us act like we're the smartest person in the room, because we all know we are skilled. And that's what we have to do with so many other people in this space. And if we're the educated ones, continue to keep growing, continue to make investments in your education, and, you know, even with, like, the Tango tier 2 discords, like, we'll be giving away more of those because it's valuable to the community. And yeah, it doesn't affect the chart. There's no direct correlation to our liquidity pool, the number of tier 2 memberships we give away to Tango. But I damn well guarantee that somebody's going to learn something in here that they can take back to the community, or that they can take back to their community, and then they can be able to teach other people that.
Right.
So it's more valuable in the long run.
Well, I know we've gone about an hour, actually right on the hour at 9 o'clock here. Yeah, I mean, it goes quick when we talk. It always happens, right? Like we talk and we look at the phone and go, have we really been on the phone for an hour and a half?
It always is. I have one other thing that I wanted to read too. That this
Sure.
Ray's little last quote that you had said about kind of the concept of analysis paralysis, and this is from one of my personal heroes that does a podcast and does a YouTube that I highly recommend called Impact Theory. His name's Tom Bilyeu. He has a quote that he says, "I have a motto: make a choice, make it happen, and work every day towards whatever that goal is. Tap into the sharp edges. Do something that scares you. Don't pull away, and don't overthink it." It's true. Like, make a choice, make a decision, lean into it, do something that scares you, and then don't let yourself overthink it because you've done the research or you've done the information in advance to be able to jump in. Like, that's what it takes. But make that goal first. Make sure you're setting yourself up for whatever that goal is to really dive into it. Don't just pick a goal because somebody told you, all right, this is the goal that we're setting for today. We have to do this. No, like, be strategic about it. Well, when you pick it, man, go for it. Don't give up. Be consistent. Repetition's the mother of learning. Do it over and over. And then when you think that you've done it enough, write it down on a piece of paper, record an audio of it, play it for yourself, read it again, and then do it again. And then do it again for another 7 days, and another 14 days. And then before you know it, you'll be doing it subconsciously, and it'll be like you've done it your whole life. And that's how life works. And that's how you grow.
Certainly is. Certainly is. Well, do you want to take any questions from the tier 2 folks here? Do you want to open it up?
Yeah.
Or do you have time?
Yeah, I think I got to call the girlfriend probably about 9:30. So I am.
Well, okay. Coach, are you still here with us?
Yeah, I'm still here. Y'all
Can-
ain't put me to sleep yet.
Oh, I thought for sure we would have by now. If anybody's still awake out there, is this thing on? If you have any questions for EJ from EverReflect or for me or for any question that you just want to get answered, this is an open forum. Unless you were manually muted, you can unmute yourself and just ask a question.
I only muted one, so
Okay.
I just unmuted him.
Anybody have any questions for EJ?
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
What's going on? I just wanted to say thanks to EJ and everyone. Really, I got one of those. I won one of the tier 2 memberships, and it's been amazing. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, too cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean,
I
thank
like-
you. You're taking advantage of it. Like, you're here. Like that's the most beautiful thing possible. So thank you.
Yeah, I've honestly, every day, I'm either catching up on a video or I'm joining another call or I'm reading up on everything. I'm way into it, so I appreciate it all.
Cool. Glad you're here, Obsidian. Congratulations.
Hey EJ, it's Steph. Can you hear me?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, bro. Hey, I was listening in. What was the name of the book that you were reading and recommended to Tango?
The Tony Robbins book?
Yeah, what was the name of that?
It's
So,
Money.
Just a biography?
No, this is Money, Master the Game.
Okay.
7 Steps to Financial Freedom. It's got Tony on the front of it, but it kind of runs similar. It's about investing. It was written back in like 13, 14, something like that. And it has to do a lot with investing, but basically it follows a similar track of like Think and Grow Rich. So Tony Robbins went around and he interviewed the wealthiest people in the world and ask them questions about, you know, how to get wealthy. What did they do to become wealthy? What are their, so, and he's going through their principles and things like that. So it's a really good read. It's a lot of pages, you know, 600, 700, 800 pages in very small print. It takes a while to read it, but.
And then the one I brought up that got me started was John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Yeah, that's a tome.
It's older. And then if you're up for like something new, Simon Sinek. If you want a guy that's gonna blow your mind, Simon Sinek's like Start with a Y, or one of his latest ones, The Infinite Game. That guy is awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I forgot how much I like to read those personal growth books, and it helped me a while ago, and I had kind of fallen off, and then you guys were talking about, you know, the 15, 20 pages a day, and I remember how much that helped me, so I want to get back into that. So.
Reading, you know, 15 to 20 pages a day is just like receiving reflections from a token. It once it becomes automatic, you'll always want it in your life. You'll never want to get rid of it, right? And at the core of my philosophy is really like all I want for all of you guys here, and what our mission is for this, you know, what we're doing with Tango Crypto is, you know, we want you to own 10 tokens that pay $100 a day in BUSD, or 100 tokens that pay $10 a day, or whatever mix it takes. You know, yeah. If you had $1,000 a day coming in from your arsenal of tokens, that's, you know, that's 1,000 a day. It's 365,000 a year. It's automatic money. You know, things go up, things go down, things go sideways. But if you buy enough tokens and enough different things over time, then you have this strategy, and that's what we're doing here. Personal development will get you there, even if the book is not about buying tokens. I don't even know that there is a book on buying reflection tokens yet. Probably Coach could write one.
You're gonna write it, yeah.
I just put a book in the chat too that it correlates with the concept of residual income. It's called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And it couples the concepts that Tango Crypto teaches about residuals, coupled with mindset, better than. I mean, obviously, I love Tony Robbins and I love a lot of those books. But if you're looking for like a quick, not even quick, but like it's broken up into chapters where you can only spend 30 minutes a day. It breaks it down into like 17 or 18 different chapters it's a very, very, very easy read. And you'll highlight the whole damn book, because every part you're like, oh yeah, that's how I get my mind focused on this. And this can directly actually be impacted when I look at a new token, if I look at a new launch, if I'm looking to invest here, if I'm looking to trade here. All those things are in that book as well.
Cool. Thanks for being here, Tough. Anybody else?
I like this one tonight, man. This is fun.
Yeah, I like it when it's laid back too. We can do all kind of fun stuff here. That's what I love about this space. You know, everybody's kind of cool, and you know, we kind of hang out and get better together. It's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
From a little different perspective, you know, for a fella who don't read self-help stuff, and a lot of folks that I know don't read it, there is an old country way of doing it too that's almost identical to what this fella describing and what y'all been describing. And it's just pick what you want and go get it. It's that simple. Wanting something is what achieves everything in life. These self-help books just give you a pathway to get your wants, for those of you who don't have your own idea. And just like the Bible gives folks a pathway for Christianity, and other religious books give them a pathway for those religions. But the folks that don't need it, you got to realize what you want and keep your wants simple, and then they'll expand on their own, and before long you'll have more than you ever wanted. Right. The way things really work in life is if you don't want it, you won't get it.
Right.
If you do want it, you will. It's that simple. That's why old country folk look at it.
Yep. But I will say this too, that coach, you have a very great ability at being able to decide your focus of where it's going to go. And that is one of the greatest things that every time we have a conversation that I pick up that I like to emulate from speaking with you is that picking a choice of what you're going to focus on is where your attention, your energy will go. Like that's just easy, and you do a great job of that. And a lot of people I think are drawn to that for all the leaders that are in this group. But that's how life does work too, and you have to be able to know what you're picking. And if you're focused on a relationship, that's where the energy will go. If it's cooking, that's where your energy and your focus will go. If it's being pissed off about the neighbor that plays their music too loud, it works for every aspect. You just got to be able to really be honest with yourself of what am I focusing on? Where am I letting my thoughts go? What thoughts am I having? And where am I putting my energy?
And that little methodology of writing something on a piece of paper, that's not just something that just come up recently in self-help books. That's been around for longer than people. You write it on a piece of paper and you unfold it and read it every day.
Yeah.
After a while, you quit looking at the paper because it's indelibly etched into your brain.
Right.
And your whole being is wanting that. And that is just a mechanism to get your want in the forefront of your mind. And it works. It's like the people who put the rubber band on their wrist.
Yeah.
And every time they say a cuss word, they snap it.
Snap it.
The pain makes them quit cussing. Or if they want a cigarette, they snap it. Or whatever. They do that to themselves to remind themselves of what they want. So find whatever that mechanism is in you. If it's a self-help book, get after it. If it's just like me, hey, I think I want this now. And then I go get it. And
You told
whatever.
me all I needed was a rubber band to quit smoking all the time.
You got to remember to snap that rubber band.
You got to snap it. It's the pain response that supposedly trains your brain. It's negative reinforcement through pain therapy.
Alright, well I guess I'll start beating myself up every time I need
And listen, you're supposed to snap the rubber band against yourself, not snap other people with it. Just to be clear.
There you go.
That's clear.
But the mechanism is going to be different for each individual. So the one who likes to read and read self-help books, that's great. For the one who don't want to read, they got to find a mechanism that works for them that motivates them.
Yeah.
Because motivation is the key. Self-motivation is exactly those words. Nobody can do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. And if you cannot do it for yourself, you'll never be motivated because nobody can motivate you. These two gentlemen that have been speaking tonight are some of the best speakers I've heard in my lifetime. And I'm possibly older than most of y'all, so that's a pretty long while. And yet, they don't motivate me at all because they something that doesn't interest me. So I'm not saying they're not good.
I love that juggling with you.
Coach brings it with the raw truth, doesn't he? I love it.
Nobody down. I'm just thinking.
Right. No, I know.
Well, everybody gets motivated. Your little girl says, "Daddy, I want something." Boy, that's a pretty good motivator.
Yeah.
You go out and get it.
That's right.
Think about it. Your little boy says, "Daddy, I want to be just like you," and you say, "Oh man, that means I want to be the best I can be, so my little boy's the best he can be."
Yeah.
Those kind of motivations are what makes you get up in the morning and go the lengths you go through every day. The unhappiness that you do at your job or whatever it is.
Yep.
You have to find whatever that trigger is in you to get you what you want, and that trigger will work every time.
That's fantastic.
These books just help you find that trigger. That's all it is.
Nice. Well, we got a few more minutes before EJ has to go. Does anybody else have any other questions?
And if I insulted anybody, it was not intentional.
Oh, no way, no way. I know better than that.
Okay.
I love you, Coach. Straight up.
You're the best.
I
Liberty.
will say this, though. You know, one of the foundations that I think that worked well for me. I do listen to a lot of podcasts, especially now, because reading sometimes becomes a little bit more difficult. But I think for me personally, when I first wake up in the morning and you're going from the alpha, beta, and all the waves that are kind of transitioning in your brain, I think that's a good time to try to infuse your mind with something. And so that's when I usually try to get in either a good podcast with Brian W. or Lewis Howes. And then I believe in the morning to be grateful and to use gratitude as kind of a foundation for the day is really a core way of starting out your full day in the best possible direction. And there's billions upon billions of things that you can be grateful for every day and be thankful for. And it can be your computer screen, to your dog, to the food that's in your fridge. You know, recently for us with EverReflect, there's a couple of people, one telling me that they paid off a car because of some reflections. Another gentleman was able to get engaged on Sunday.
Yeah.
Ring because of it.
That was
Another
awesome.
person was able to pay for an X-ray at the hospital because he was having super bad congestion and cough. So that's the kind of stuff that I think is valuable for me personally, but I think it could be valuable for a lot of other people. That if you start off as soon as you get up in the morning, and honestly, when you're transitioning out of the beta waves into the alpha waves and all that, I can't remember the exact order. That's the perfect time to infuse your brain with that information and to use gratitude because it will set the foundation for your day. I do truly believe that.
I agree with that. And I know a lot of people here are thankful for you as well, because we have I think there were 13 or 14 out of our crew that all got they were able to get through on the pre-sale, and they got 2 trillion tokens, and a couple of them are really young guys, and I know some of them I think have kind of openly said they that's more money than they've ever touched, and then making 30, 40, 50 grand as the token opened, and then another 5 or 6,000 in reflections in the first couple of days, was just overwhelming money and life changing, and just it's great. I mean, some of the phone calls that I've had since then is like, talking to people about strategies of how to get out of debt using that money, and you're making a difference in the world as long as you make sure that you're doing the right thing and trying to take care of people. And I know you personally, I know are that's what you're centered on. That's what I'm centered on. That's what Coach is centered on.
And then the other aspect of that is, we know people bought high, and we know that some people didn't get all the tokens that they thought they would get on launch day.
Yep.
They bought 30 seconds or 40 seconds after we went live. And it's been our sole mission to make sure that we're reconciling with those people or following up with them to hey, what can we do to make the situation as best as possible? It's going to be fair. We're not going to just, it's impossible with the number of tokens that have been minted that we can just give everybody 1 trillion and go back and everybody got 500 billion. Living in the past isn't going to do any good because we can't change that. But we will do everything in the future to be able to make up for all those other people, to get you back up to the higher market caps, to the higher prices, to bring in more holders. Because we want everybody to enjoy that. And some people are able to experience it in 24 hours, and some maybe 48 hours, and some will be 6 months, and some will be a year, but we're not going it. That goes back to that rule that I live every day about the consistency, because the consistency wins. I don't care how good you are at something. It doesn't matter. You can be the absolute best person, and if you do it for a day, and then you're done, you don't win.
Yeah.
Because, like the gentleman that brought up in the chat about Simon Sinek, Simon Sinek's whole concept in the book, The Infinite Game, is that it doesn't end. That business doesn't end. It's not a finite game like a basketball game or a baseball game where there's a set number of innings or quarters, and that there's a winner and there's a loser. Business doesn't work that way. Business is infinite if you so choose to live that way, because it can constantly be going on. The rules are always changing. There's always ways to modify things. There's always ways to fix things, and it's forever going on. And if you build a legacy, then it truly can be infinite. And that's the way you have to approach these concepts in business and these ideas. That it's an infinite game. It's not finite. There's no fourth quarter for EverReflect. We're not going to win. You don't get to a point where all of a sudden, all right, buzzer's over, game's done, we can all go home. It doesn't work that way. This is an infinite game. And I highly, highly recommend anybody listening to any of the speeches from Simon Sinek and what he's done at his TED Talks and some of the things. I mean, this is like literally a guy that's almost broken the internet from some of his speeches. And that whole concept that Simon Sinek has infused into his business strategies and what he writes about in the Infinite Game is what we've incorporated with EverReflect, because I truly believe he has the best methodologies and strategies for how you do business in today's day and age.
You got me wanting to go get it. I haven't read Infinite Game, but I know what my next book is going to be.
It's good.
Awesome. Well, I know we got just a few more minutes. Is there anybody else? I saw a couple people unmute a moment ago. Is there anybody else had a question or a comment? Don't be shy.
I'm
I
not
was gonna say,
sure.
you guys are awesome, man. I mean, for real. I appreciate everything y'all do in both aspects, in the teaching and in the opportunity. I just want to say that.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you, John.
I did just want to ask how the progress is going with the international communities. I know you guys got the Discord open for Japan, and
We opened up the first EverReflect International with Italian, and it got to about 20 people. So I know the admins and the mods, and we've all kind of gone back and have evaluated the strategy behind that, because how valuable is the Discord if there's only a number, a small number of people
Bless you.
that are speaking another language. So I honestly, I think because we've hit such a lull with community growth, until we get kind of the fire burning again within our own community, and we're not seeing a negative on the holders, and we're not seeing a negative on the number of people joining the Telegram, we need to get the community back fired up to be the influencers. That's what got us to where we were with a 3-month build up to our launch. Was the community was excited to tell their friends, and they were excited to tell their other colleagues, and they were excited to share it with other people. Until we get that back, it's going to be really hard to grow exponentially in other channels other than the main Telegram, because that's where it has to come from. And we will always take those suggestions, but it's going to come back to the mindset of the community. And unfortunately, our mindset of our community is kind of taken a little bit of a sour approach, and we're really working darn hard to give incentives, to give new promos, to do things to bring back the community engagement, because that's where it grows. That's where it has to grow. And then it can grow into other socials and other aspects of the internet. But until we get that rev back up, it's going to be hard to expand into other international languages because of that reason.
Yeah. Well, you'll get the bridge. It'll show up when it's time, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
For sure.
you don't want to push something. You want to let the influence of the market pull you in the direction you want to go. It's always hard. It's always harder to push something than it is to be pulled in a direction. So allow the universe to pull you, my brother.
Yep, true.
What I just heard, EJ, was it seems to me the focus is a little bit. Don't worry about it too much. In other words, that focus you were just referring to, and just go on with what you want to do. The rest will take care of itself.
Right.
Because if you focus on that negativity that you just said, every time you repeat it, it just makes it more physically foreign.
For sure, right. You get
Today,
it.
it all doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's just water off a duck's back.
Yeah, true.
That's all it is. And I tell people daily, if you think positive thoughts, everything that's going to happen in your life will be positive. But you let negativity come in there, then you're going to see negative things. It's all perspective, 100%.
Well, and you know, just being completely candid and honest, that was where I had to almost remove myself from it a little bit, because it can almost be mentally fatiguing and toxic on a person. You know, I'm just still a normal guy, just one human being that's living in an apartment with a dog and a cat and has a girlfriend that lives down the street. Like, there's nothing real special about that sets me apart from any other person that's in this room. We all have our own aspects and our attributes and our gifts and our skill sets. And you have to always go back to that mindset of what's going to bring you back to the focus, what's going to bring you back to the goals and the strategies that you put in place, because that's the key. That's what we're not going to lose focus of, and that's really where my brain's been at a lot more this past week of like, all right, so now we're here. How do we get there? There's the light at the end of the tunnel. Let's keep working for that. Let's promote this. Listen to this event. Listen to this next AMA. This partnership. What we're doing with NFT tickets. What we can do with the virtual reality space. What we can do with clean energy. All those things are the exciting, the things that can get people fired up, and that's where the excitement will build. And you said this to me last night, actually, on the phone, Coach. You used the word confidence. And you're like, you gotta be confident.
Yes.
That's it. That's it.
It has to come up every part in your being,
Right.
because the people around you are not. So they're looking to you to lead, and if you're not confident, then you can't lead.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're just going to run away. And they're going to seek the next person who appears to be confident, and they'll follow them. I'm telling you, people don't care how smart you are. They don't care how wealthy they are. They care that you believe and you exude that belief.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what people recognize, and that's what people follow. That's it. And if you ever watch people like I do, and I tell everybody it's the herd, just watch the herd. That's all it is. They're following the people they believe. That's it.
100%, Coach. You nailed it.
So if you exude confidence in everything you do, because there's no reason not to. Why are you doing it if you're not confident about it?
Right.
It's that simple. If you're not confident in what you're doing, you probably ought not be doing it.
Yeah, it's very true.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you golfing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I appreciate you, EJ, and I want to honor your time. I know that you said you needed to be off of here and doing something by 9:30. So with just a couple minutes before that, I'd like to just say thanks for being here on behalf of everybody in Tango Crypto, especially Tier 2. And I know that actually there's a couple people that are on the call. I think one other person was here that was listening in but couldn't speak. That was another winner. That you guys had given away the 1-year subscription to Tango Crypto, and they're all very thankful. So thank you for being here. Thank you for spending time with us. Thanks for being a good friend to me, and being here to help me out. I didn't have anything to talk about tonight, and this is what we ended up doing. So I appreciate you, brother. You really helped me out. And this is a show, guys, that we do it every Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern time. It's just for Tango Tier 2 subscribers. TangoTuesday is what we call it. It's my little space that I like to share with, kind of like come over and hang out and let's talk shop. And just so thankful for all of you that are here tonight, for those of you that stayed till the end. And if not, please, give me about an hour or so and I'll have this up as a recording and we can share it with everybody else. But thank you, Coach. Thank you, Karuna. Thank you, Mobile Trades. Thank you, Tango Crypto family. Thank you, Fishing Stone. I see you out there, brother. I appreciate all the hard work that all you guys are doing to help get this thing really going up. And thanks again to all of our subscribers for for being here and making this the successful, the successful project that it has been so far. Each and every one of you has contributed to this in some way, and I wouldn't be here without you. So I just want you to know how much I appreciate all of you, and I'm thankful that you're all here along for the ride. So with that, we'll conclude the program and save up for next week. And thank you, EJ, for being here once again. And
Thank you guys.
yep, this is Dave, Tango Delta 6 down in Tampa. I appreciate you guys. I love you all as my family, and I'll see you soon. We'll see you next time around.
Hey,